hope everybody can hear me. I'm going to try to be loud. So just recently, the group I'm part of, Collectively Free, disrupted the Easter Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral to call the attention to non-human animal violence with a speak out followed by chants, "Easter is a time for love, no more shedding animals' blood." And an organizer who got arrested wrote a notepad explaining the reasons behind our action. So I want to share a little piece of it. He says, one commenter compared our action in the cathedral to yelling fire in a theater, implying that we raised an alarm about a non-existent emergency. But in this case, there is an issue at stake that is every bit as urgent as an actual fire. That's true. Yeah. So to understand this urgency, please close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so. I'm going to do a little exercise and just try to concentrate on this for a second. Imagine that you were born, and instead of feeling the warmth and comfort of your parents, you were kidnapped and you were thrown into a cell with thousands of orphans just like you. And someone whose language you cannot understand stripped you away from your parents. And even though you can't understand a single word they say, you can smell the blood and violence in every move they make. You have no idea what you've done wrong. You're scared, you're alone. You seem to have no purpose but that of being killed. And you've seen it happen to those around you. Every night of every day, you dream that you'll be able to run free, have autonomy of your own body, have autonomy to decide who you want to be, and let the world know that you committed no crime, but that of perhaps being born different than a human being. So open your eyes. Thank you for doing this with me. This is the life of virtually every non-human animal being imprisoned, tortured, and killed for human use and consumption. And look, this is just a very mild version of the horrors that happen behind closed doors. I was born and raised in Brazil, and I came to the US through a political asylum petition based on sexual orientation. And I just want to say this because I want to let you know that I understand some of the issues that are being discussed here today, and that probably some of you may share the same systemic oppressions that we do. And actually, this is why I think this is the perfect place to be, because you may understand how we feel just as urgent about this issue as well. I do not expect you to forget prolonged history of dehumanization, but instead I ask that together we break this, like Sebastian said, white and oppressive notion of what being an animal means, and that we restore our relationship with non-human animals. And I'm saying this because from now on, I just want to refer to all of us here in this room as human animals, because we are all animals. I'm not going to debate per se today the fact that non-human animals are people. They are individuals. They are someone. This is like me as an ally hearing someone debate whether or not a trans woman or a man is worthy of consideration because they are just trans, or whether or not black folks deserve equality because they are just black. A trans woman or a man or a person of color or a fish like in this picture is someone because it's not their gender, their race, or their species that define their status of moral consideration. It's the fact that they are sentient beings. They are animals capable of feeling. And there are over 2,500 studies that already confirm that. That at the most basic level, they're capable of feeling pleasure, they flee from harm, they have awareness, and they love. So just let's reject, this violent anthropocentric idea that human animals are the means to which everything on this planet exists. And there's this pre-Socratic philosopher called Xenophonus who says, if horses or cows or lions had hands to draw with, their hands and produce work as art as men do, horses would draw the figures of gods like horses and cows like cows, and they would make their bodies just as the form which they each have themselves. So the fact that thinkers and institutions in the West depict God as human animals, for example, is just one example of how humans are centered in everything, right? And that therefore it is acceptable to do whatever we want with non-human animals. But wait, there's a even specific category of humans that have that privilege of doing whatever they want with anybody else, and it is a white, cisgender, able-bodied male, which is in the center of everything. It really all boils down to this idea, right, that some lives are lesser than. This is really at the root of every violent ideology. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what drives social movements to fight, you know, and understanding this, I think it's crucial, so all social movements can work together, like Sebastian also touched on that. I want to read for you this quote from Rhea Carey, who is the executive director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, because that exemplifies how I feel about activism, right? She says that leadership for me is tied to this question of vision and a desire for holiness. We can't ask someone to be an undocumented immigrant one day, a lesbian the next, a mom the third day. Our vision is about transforming society so that she can be all those things every single day, and that there will be a connectedness among social justice workers and among the organizations and agendas, if you will, to make her life whole. So that's pretty much how I feel about activism and how we envision Collectively Free, which is the group I'm part of. I'm going to just touch a little bit about LGBTQ and how we tie this together. So, you know, homosexuality throughout history may have had its moments of, if you want to say, acceptance, right? During a period of Greece and Rome, even though it was honestly mostly reserved to man. But then it was criminalized and stigmatized by religious institutions. We can take, for example, the case of Jamaica. They had the anti-gay legislation is actually derived from the British 1861 Offences Against the Person of Act. So that is a result of colonization, because before that they were pretty accepting, actually. So the sexuality of both non-human animals and human animals are suppressed by society, because heterosexuality and cisgenderness are considered the norms, right? So LGBTQ folks sometimes feel fearful of expressing their sexuality. I mean, I have so many times. Especially in places where being gay can literally get you killed, like, I don't know if you know, but in like 79 countries, or in farms, zoos, and labs. So in those places, there is absolutely no consideration whatsoever to any of the animals' sexuality. They really never get a chance to know themselves and to express their sexuality. In addition, a gay animal is considered of no economical value to the industry. And I'm going to share a famous case with you folks. It's Beijing, who was the gay bull. He got a lot of attention because he was rescued. I think Peter. Was it Peter that? Simon. Yes, that's right. Who ended up rescuing him because he showed no interest in any of the cows. You know, he was all for the boys. So he was going to get killed just because of that. There's another case too in Russia. Prosecutors accused the relationship between Amur the tiger over here and Timur the goat to be harmful to children, and I quote, by provoking interest in non-traditional sexual relations. So, you know, in this case, we can see that speciesism is intrinsically connected with misogyny, homophobia, and colonialism as well. So we never learn who non-human animals are, and we are not taught to see them as the individuals who feel love and pain. We never talk about their interests or desires, and we never hear their stories, especially their stories of resistance, right? Yes, non-human animals, they do fight back. And the reason why we rarely hear their stories isn't because they don't exist. It's because they exist in a system built to minimize those stories, such as crates, cages, electric prods, single-file chutes. These are all technologies who are designed to be used to disempower non-human animals, so they don't resist. But for example, this girl here, Beyonce, she escaped from a live market in Brooklyn. and she hid in a nearby vacant lot surrounded by high chain-like fence, and she survived there for nearly 2 weeks. 2 weeks without food. And now she's at Safe Haven, and they named her Beyonce because she's from Brooklyn and she's a survivor. Chickens now, like Beyonce, can be killed at a rate of 140 chickens per minute at slaughterhouses. They can police themselves with less and less government interference, so making them more efficient killing machines. And that's just in one facility, right? So 51.4 billion chickens are artificially hatched. They're fattened up and they're slaughtered when they're only 42 days old. So they're just babies. These are statistics that I think we have to take really seriously. So when we fight against those who commodify our bodies as women, for example, but we exclude trans women, or when we regard non-human animals as objects, we become the colonizer. And when we scream from the top of our lungs, freedom, but we ignore the plight of immigrants in our journey, say, to LGBTQ rights, or when we reject the fact that non-human animal oppression starts with mass incarceration, we become the police. And when we make it impossible for people with disability to participate in meetings or protests, or when we talk about environmental crimes, but re-erase the identity of non-human animals, who are honestly the ones that are directly, I think, at first, mostly affected by it, we become violent. And when we write a mission statement that says, we are against all oppressions, but we continue to feast on the bodies of our siblings without giving it a second thought, we become the oppressor. And I'm not asking you that you drop your cause and then you become a non-human animal liberation activist, even though that would be great. I can actually do that in conjunction with what you do, right? Because guess what? I'm not dropping my people either, and I do also a lot of human rights work. I think, that's why we're here, because we believe in that, right? I'm just asking that together we challenge speciesism, and that we also take the matter of non-human oppression very seriously. I'm gonna end pretty soon. Just give me 2 more minutes. 2 days ago, my wife and I, we lost our dog. Her name is Brisa. It's gonna be a little hard, but I'm gonna go over this. She lived more than half her life in a cage. And when she had puppies, they were taken away from her. And she was basically just dumped to be euthanized. This is what we do to non-human animals. We arbitrarily decide deserve our moral consideration. Brisa deserved every bit of consideration and love that any of us in this room. And I want to play a very small video for you. So when I was paying for Brisa's bill when she died, basically, there was this TV channel at the vet that was playing this food show, right? Where the host categorized pig's flesh and vegetable in the same hierarchy of morality. You simply mix these bits of bacon and toss some kale with it. That pig that was on that TV show deserved every bit of consideration and love than Brisa did, and that any of us in this room does. So if you're not you to do something about this injustice, then who? And if not now, when?